Hey, Sun Devil fans, Brad Denny with 3TV, CBS 5 AM, the Speak of the Devils podcast here. Welcome back to another episode of the Speak of the Devils Sit-Down series, where I bring you in-depth, one-on-one conversations with key players, coaches, and other figures within Sun Devil athletics. And of course, in football, it all starts up front. And with the move to the Big 12, trench play will be paramount for Arizona State. But thankfully for the Devils, they have Leif Fautanu to anchor their offensive line. Transferring to Tempe from UNLV before last season, the center would hold together the injury-ravaged offensive line through all kinds of adversity, and he put together a solid season. Now, heading into 2024, Leif has elevated not just his game, but his standing as a team leader, and is poised to help ASU make a splash in their new conference. On this episode, Leif and I discuss the lessons learned through adversity, the makeup of the 2024 Sun Devil offensive line, his evolution as a leader, his football journey, what he misses about life on the islands, and so much more. So let's get to it. Here's my conversation with Leif Fautanu. All right, Leif, got a big important question to start things off. What is the favorite block of your career? Is there one that just kind of stands out amongst all others where you just really kind of dominated a defender?
Oh, man. And I've been blocking for so long, I don't know if there's like one that really speaks out. I think there was one that I think it was U of A. It was a screen, and I think I just laid a corner out. I think in one of those, I forget what play it was. I think it was right before half, and I think I just smashed the corner, and I think that's one of my most favorite blocks for sure.
What's the most rewarding part of that for you, like a play like that for you, where you just absolutely level a defender? Obviously, you're doing your job well, and that opens up the room for the ball carrier. But what's the kind of the most rewarding part of that? Is it just kind of like the dominating another man who's trying to compete against you? Is it helping the team? What just kind of stands out above?
I think just that itself, like I did my job, and like I did my job so good that like another person can do their job, and I guess usually most of the times than not, it's for the receiver to score. So I mean, I think that just doing my part, it just helps the team a lot, that much more.
All right, so let's get to what the talk of the sport has been for a while now. Of course, the video game. What do you think your rating is going to be next month when the game comes out?
Shoot, I hope it's all right. I mean, I would say like a good 80, maybe 79, because my number's 79. I don't know. Somewhere around there, I hope, I guess.
Which of your teammates do you think is going to be like most obsessed with the rating, or maybe have the biggest problem with thinking that they got shortchanged by EA?
Sean Nah. I think Sean Nah is going to have a big he's going to have a hard time accepting the fact that he's probably like a lower rating. But we're definitely going to try to get those adjusters to come to a few practices, come see us work and stuff like that, so we can get some adjustments on our ratings.
That's kind of funny because I did one of these with Sean a while back, and I kind of asked him the question, "What do you think he's going to be?" And I think he said something like, "Oh, maybe a 63," because you know how they do offensive linemen.
Yeah,
he was really confident that the mid-season update would really kind of get him going out.
Yeah, hopefully that's what it is. I mean, hopefully that's the case when the season comes around.
So obviously you guys are hard at work and you're in the summer workout program working with Coach Joe. How's that going so far right now? What's your overall kind of read as to how these guys, now they kind of got like the roster complete as is, with those 84 guys, how you think things are going in the summer work with Coach Joe?
I think we're doing really good. I think the leaders of the team are really starting to step up. Like me, Zay, Davion Alfred, and Shamari, and all those other dudes are starting to step up and kind of taking ownership of the team and getting dudes around each other and creating that chemistry that we need when things get hard around the season. I think that we're creating a relationship with a lot of other dudes on the team and outside of our position group. So I think that we're a really good spot when the fall comes around.
You mentioned yourself, Xavier Alford, Shamari, kind of three guys who all were transfers from a season ago. Going through that experience of making that jump, moving to a new place and a new program, how has that experience from that last year maybe helped you kind of bring in some of the newer guys this year into the fold and to get everybody on the same page quicker?
Yeah, so when dudes like kind of visit, Coach T asked me if I could host them and stuff like that. And when I host dudes, I try to tell them the vision of what Coach Dillingham and Coach Sog and all the other coaches have for this program, and I could see when I was first recruited here, the vision that Coach Dilly wanted to have in the Valley, and I think that he does a really great job of kind of putting that into action. And with the dudes that we're bringing in, we're only bringing dudes that want to be here and dudes that want to try to change the narrative of the program.
Going through summer workouts right now, and in that leadership capacity, who are some guys that you think have either newcomers that are really kind of jumping out to you, or perhaps guys who were here a year ago but have really kind of made strides since last season and really kind of are positioning themselves well for fall camp?
I think CJ Fight has done a really great job. Me and him are locker neighbors, so we definitely have talks about like the room and how to run a room. And like I appreciate that he asked me some questions every now and then about how to run a room and what it takes to lead a room, because I've been doing it for years and this is really his first year. So I think CJ Fight's going to do a really great job in the next few years. And I think Keyshawn Elliott and Zyrus and Crook and all those guys in the linebacker room, a lot of them are really great leaders and a lot of great motivators and really great players on the field as well. So, I mean, they're definitely interchangeable in that room, and really great energy coming out of that room for sure. And one person I think that's can also stand out is JT, Jake Smith, Melquan, and all those guys are kind of taking a lot more ownership than last year inside the room, because Jake didn't play last year, but you definitely hear the voice that he has when they're in the receiver room. So I think those guys are doing a really great job of stepping out in the leadership role.
How do you think the culture is coming in? Because obviously, with a new coaching staff and a bunch of new players as well, last year just kind of seemed like a time where everybody's kind of getting acclimated and getting to know each other. Now with the guys coming back, most of the staff's coming back. How do you think that cultural mix and what Kenny's trying to build out here in Tempe, how do you think that's coming along now that's got kind of a full year in the system?
Yeah, I think it helps a lot because, last year was kind of survive, a lot of dudes coming in, really didn't really know each other's names at first till really camp. But I think with the year of just working, it helps us a lot, because when new dudes start to come in, like the freshmen and other transfers, it's that much easier to kind of set the standard in the room and set the standard on the team. So I think that with the year, it's so much easier to try and connect and with other dudes outside your position group. So it's so much easier this year around for sure.
And going back to last year, kind of in a larger sense, when you take the entirety of your 2023 season, what's kind of your overall kind of self-evaluation of how you performed on the field?
Well, me personally, I know I could do better. I just was playing a little heavier than I'm usually used to. So I cut down a few pounds and I feel a lot better. I think Coach T and I had a really great talk in terms of my goals of this upcoming season and my last season. So for last year, I know for sure we could have won some games, but I think the offensive line is also a big improvement. So I think that's what we're going for next year or this upcoming season.
Have you ever gone through any season even remotely close to what you guys went through last year in terms of just so many injuries and just having to do the things you had to do to just as you kind of said, it was just about surviving last year. How did you kind of deal with all the uncertainty, so many external factors that you guys just kind of were thrown at you guys?
Yeah, that was such a tough spot to be in. I've never been in that position ever before, where we're only down to really 6 guys that can play, and or really even 5 at some weeks, just because if one person went down, we're really playing with 4 guys. But I really want to shout out Sean and all those other dudes that kind of stepped up into the role of kind of when your number is called, you pick up and go. So shout out to him because, as a freshman going up against one of the top rushers in the Pac-12 last year, it's kind of tough, especially as you're one of your very first few starts in college football. So shout out to them. But definitely we have a lot more depth this year around, and we can definitely have interchange a lot of dudes at a lot of positions, and the drop off between skill is not that much compared to last year.
You were one of the rocks of that line. I believe that overall 11 different starting combinations over 12 games. Pretty unfathomable. I've been covering the program since 2011. I don't remember a season that a position group so acutely was hit by injuries. As one of the veterans in in that lineup and in that offensive line room, you mentioned young guys like Sean stepping up. But overall, what did you do during that last season to kind of keep things going as best you could, even though the guys around you were like changing almost on a weekly basis?
Yeah, we just try to tell the guys that like nobody really cares, like the other team doesn't care if you're down injuries. It's more of like a results-based business. It's either you get the job done or you don't. But like a lot of the dudes that were playing, like the freshmen and all the backups were kind of helping the starters out, kind of giving them breaks during practice and kind of taking care of their bodies. So I think that it really helps us for sure this year, now that we have kind of more depth. But definitely last year was definitely kind of a crazy spot to be in.
They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So you're coming away from that season. What were the biggest lessons that you learned that going through that adversity, those obstacles, the hurdles, and everything? Do you think has better prepared you and the other guys who went through that for greener pastures, up ahead in 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson is Sean got it too. So it's just when your number's called, you got to go, and it really only takes one play for your number to be called. And one of the examples being Emmett, and it was really the third play of the game, and he had a season-ending injury. And so I think that's the biggest lesson for these guys, that not only in our position group, but also throughout the whole team. Like, it only takes one play for you to be in, and you have to perform at such a high level.
It was a tough year, of course, but also a year where there were some good moments as well. When you look back, what were some of your favorite moments through that 2023 campaign?
I would say UCLA for sure. I've never thought, like, throughout that whole week of practice where we're putting in the swinging gate, I was like, there's no way Kenny's going to put this in. They were like, what are we doing? Like, I thought we'd just go use it like one time, just throw them off. But no, we used it the whole game. And BP and I and Cam were pretty much the linemen the whole game. But I've never, like in all my years of playing, never thought that would ever come out in a real game. But that's definitely one of my more favorite moments forever.
And talking to Sean about that game, he mentioned that as one of his highlights, and he said like the UCLA defenders were just getting so frustrated and is talking smack. What do you remember about just the frustration? Because obviously you said you guys were using it a lot, but also they couldn't stop. You guys were having success.
Yeah, it was so funny because a lot of the UCLA defenders were like, "This isn't real football," and I was like, "Dude, like you just got to line up and stop it." I mean, you got. Like, their D-line was just insane last year. We had a lot of really good rushers inside and outside and guys that can wreak havoc on the quarterback. But I think Coach Dillingham did a really great job of game planning and kind of taking them out of the game. And, it was definitely a really great game. And they were definitely frustrated, and I'm for sure they thankful that they won't see us again.
So what does it say to you as a player when you have a head coach who does something so unorthodox? Obviously, so many factors kind of led to that decision and having to roll out that swinging gate and various other things out of necessity. But a guy who just basically doing whatever can and scheming up whatever he can to put you guys in the best position to get that win, get a victory.
Yeah, I think Coach Dillingham does a really great job. I've never thought of ever putting that in an offense where – like, we're really pro style and stuff like that, but it was really just 7-on-7, and I was just kind of snapping the ball. But I think it just shouts out Coach Dillingham, because as a head coach, you got to like lay it on the line, and I think he took a really big risk, and there was a really big reward at the end. So I think that him putting that in, that just shouts more of his character out and entrusting the players that we have at the time.
Of course, as the center, every play starts with you. And did you ever imagine that you'd be snapping to tight ends and running backs at least with the frequency that you did? And how did you work with kind of like with Cam and Jalen and just getting them comfortable to step up in those situations that they obviously probably never thought they would be in when the season began? Yeah,
so like I think it was when we were at Camp T where Coach Dilly brought it up to us, like, if we need it, we're gonna have that package in. So like every day after practice, we'd take a few snaps together, and when the time came, like we were ready for it. So I think that just shouts out to Cam and Jalen, all those dudes that took snaps from me, um, where like we practice it, and whenever we were ready to use it, we were ready to go.
Kenny Dillingham is a young head coach, his first year leading a major college football program, and all this adversity strikes. How did you kind of see him kind of navigate and lead you guys through some very difficult and choppy waters that last year?
Yeah, he's definitely like a motivated guy. Every time before the game, he gets us hyped up. So I think that just helps us that much more, because if we don't have more juice than him, then that's a problem, But I think that he creates a level where we need to compete at a very high level, and I think that really helps with his age too, because like he can just run around and do whatever you need to do in order to get the team going, and I think that he does a really good job of that.
And of course, your position coach, Coach Tuatele, obviously, kind of almost like going along with the flow of just offensive linemen missing games, offensive line coach missed a couple games as well. But how did you see him kind of handle things with just having to kind of put together, keep a line together, and performing week in, week out, kind of with everything that was going on the injury front?
Yeah, when he first got here, he kind of set the standard of what an offensive line room looks like. And I think that when he left, the standard never dropped. So I think that shouts out to the leaders of the room, like Emmett, Cade, and Ben Coleman, and all those other dudes in the room, because we didn't let the standard drop, even if he was there or even if he was there. I think that just shouts out to Coach T. He definitely knows what it looks like to win games and have a winning program. And even though he missed out a game, I think the intensity of practice and the standard of the room really never dropped.
I'll go back to the start of your football journey. It seemed like you have a family legacy. Was that kind of how you got into the sport initially, just kind of following in the family legacy and footsteps?
Yeah, I definitely grew up playing football from when I was a very young age, and a lot of my uncles played football, so I kind of followed in their tracks and all that stuff. And my entire family is full of athletes, so I feel like that's where it all started.
What are some of your favorite, or the earliest football memories that you can recall?
When I used to play running back in middle school, I was actually a running back, and used to run the ball on third and short and stuff like that, but not like first down back, but like third and short. I'll get back in the I formation and just get us a yard or two. Another one is probably when I played punter and stuff. I was punter for my high school team and stuff like that. But those are for sure one of my more favorite memories.
Did you campaign when you saw Scat doing some punting? Did you maybe campaign and be, hey, give me a kick or two?
Yeah, I thought I could do it, but like nobody would like be able to snap. So like I was like, I guess I'll just snap the ball then.
So what's in Hawaii? What's kind of like the football scene there? Obviously, it seems like more and more high caliber players are coming out of that state. But when you're coming up, there in the islands, what's kind of like the football scene like?
Yeah, I think Hawaii football is very slept on. I think in the past few years, people started to kind of take a look of the players that are there. I think the football scene is very competitive. I think it's just as competitive as other states in the U.S. I think we have really great football there, and I think that the heart there is just unmatched compared to other states. So I think that Hawaii football is very slept on, but also produces a lot of really great athletes.
What do you miss most about island life?
Oh, the beach. I miss the beach, the food, and stuff like that. I mean, it gets like 110 here, but it stays like 80 and sunny back home in Hawaii, which I kind of miss, but it's okay.
What kind of maybe Hawaiian food spots do you think Arizona and the Valley could use?
Definitely some what's it called? Zippy's. Zippy's is a really great spot. It's like a Hawaiian food chain. There's another Hawaiian place in Vegas that we need in Hawaii and in Arizona. It's called Lefty J's. It's really nice, really great spot, family-owned type stuff, but really good spot. And I think that Arizona could use some of the Hawaiian food around here somewhere.
Of course, playing at UNLV and then here in Arizona, you go in the desert. You've been so how was that adjustment? Making the trek to the mainland and just you go into a couple desert spots where, as you mentioned, 110, 115, pushing 120 at times. How's that adjustment been for you?
I think it was a smooth transition, but like when I first got here to, like in Vegas, when I first got to the desert, like I was just thinking, dude, what are we doing here? Like, well, why did I come here? Like, I didn't come here for the heat, but it definitely took me like a year or two to like kind of get acclimated with it, especially with the air. It's so thin and it's very what's it called, dry. And in Hawaii, it's very humid there, so it's kind of two different climates that I had to kind of adjust to. But the transition from desert, it was really nice, and it was very easy for me.
So then you go to UNLV and are there for a few years, and you're with Marcus Arroyo at the time. A program that historically has not had a whole lot of success, but it seemed like incrementally, the steps, and improvements. Obviously, you saw what they were able to do last year as well. Over those first couple of years, what kind of lessons you take away, maybe some patience, and trying to be part of a program that it was kind of trying to rebuild and kind of similar to ASU, just kind of taking that time to get back to where they want to be.
Yeah, so I was a part of the year one at UNLV where Coach Arroyo was the head coach, and he kind of got a bad hand where he was dealt with the COVID. So we really couldn't really practice like that, and we definitely didn't get the season that we wanted there. But you could see, like you said, there's just incremental growth. And I think that's what like a definite example for ASU. Like we can't have it all happen in 1 year or like overnight. Success doesn't happen overnight. And I think it just takes a little bit more time than a lot of people think. You can't just flip a team around and just start winning games like that. You kind of need to take little baby steps towards winning games. And I think that's the track that we're on. And I think that with this year, this team is taking a lot of steps, and we kind of went through the process, and we need to make results happen for sure this year.
In an era of the portal where so much change happens in a year in year out basis, and maybe guys just are jumping around trying to find the best spots or maybe the shortest path to playing time, whatever. How do you go about, or what kind of lessons have you drawn from being that in UNLV now at Arizona State, where, as you mentioned, patience is key, and kind of that incremental overtime growth, and that instant gratification isn't necessarily a possibility. Like, how do you find that right mix and the right guys to build that culture for not just incremental growth, but once you get there, to have that sustained success?
Yeah, just like it goes back to like who Coach Dillingham and who Coach T recruit. We kind of investigate those guys, and when I host them, we try to bring them around the other dudes and try to see if they're the right fit for us, and try to see who they are and what they're about. And we get a really good idea of who they are as a person. And if they were to come here, then they would help us, instead of we, like Coach Dillingham said, we want multipliers instead of dividers. We want people to kind of multiply the energy that we need in order to win games. And I think that with this recruiting cycle, we've brought in dudes that want to be here, that want to win, that have been at programs that have won before, and try to simulate that here. So that I think that definitely shouts out Coach Dillingham and Coach T of bringing dudes here that want to win.
So you've been through a lot in your college career. What would Leif today tell Leif back, at the very beginning of your college career?
Oh, shoot. Well, get stronger, get faster. But I think it's more of like, be patient and like, don't rush to the end don't rush to the end, and just take your time in terms of developing. You can't, in the offensive line world, you can't have like a day one starter just walk in and just start college games. You kind of got to build up to it, and that's the hard part about offensive line. You have a lot of steps you need to take in order to start games. So I think to my past self, I'd be saying, just take your time. It's all a process, and just make sure you continue to do more extra work.
So whenever it is down the road that you hang up your cleats, what are some of the post-football aspirations that you have for yourself?
Post-football, I definitely want to try to follow in my dad's footsteps. My dad is a retired veteran. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. and I kind of want to try to go to OCS, which is kind of Officer Candidate School. So I kind of want to follow that because all of my uncles and my brother and my sisters are all in the service. So it was either growing up, it was either be in the Army or go get a scholarship and play football. So I was fortunate enough to go get a scholarship to play football. But I think after football, I definitely want to try to join the Army and do OCS and follow what my dad did.
Was playing at a service academy, playing at West Point, was that ever something that you explored?
Yeah, it was definitely an option, but like at the time in high school, I kind of was like, I don't want to go all the way to New York and play there, but where my family couldn't really see me. But now that I look about it, I would have been more open to it had I known about the benefits of playing at a service academy. But yeah, it was definitely an option now, but back then it wasn't really that big of an option.
It would have been interesting, maybe being an offensive lineman, for a triple option offense.
Oh yeah, I know those dudes are kind of crazy, and yeah, I've definitely played against it, and it's definitely not fun to play against. But I'll tell you what, the games go faster. I'll tell you for sure.
That's true. When you look at what Kenny and the staff are building out here, they're calling it the poly pipeline continues to grow, and a lot of very talented guys are making their way to Tempe. And what does it mean to kind of be a part of that, and also see kind of that growth? Obviously the Texas Tempe pipeline's going, but now this one is going kind of right along with it.
Yeah, so I would say like I was the first transfer Polynesian O-lineman that really came here, and Coach T kind of told me his vision of he wants poly dudes on the team, and Coach Dillingham definitely emphasized like he also wants some Polynesian dudes on the team, and because a lot of really good teams have good polys on it too. So I think having that Polynesian pipeline here, it really helps the team. A lot of dudes understand who polys are and how hard we play as a race. I think we do a really great job of kind of hyping the team up and having a lot of fun and bringing the energy that we need on the team in order to win.
You mentioned kind of right off the top that you're one of the team leaders and obviously one of the veterans, but also your play and your importance. And how have you seen kind of your growth as a leader? Maybe perhaps over this last year in Tempe, but also perhaps over the duration of your college career, some of the key areas where you've grown.
I think one of my key areas that I've grown is definitely stepping outside of my comfort zone. My comfort zone was kind of like keep to myself and try to do what can I do in order to make myself better. But I kind of got out of that mindset where I need to rely on other dudes at some point of the game. Like I need to rely on the defense to get a stop on 4th and 1. I can't do anything from that point. But I think I've definitely grown in terms of trying to rely on other dudes and get other people involved where to share knowledge instead of keep it away, because at some point when I'm done, I want people to know what I knew, and kind of pass the knowledge on and try to help other dudes out. So definitely stepping out of my comfort zone and speaking up as a leader.
This year's a reunion for you with your old head coach and Marcus Arroyo, your new OC. What's that like, just kind of reuniting with Coach Arroyo?
Yeah, it's good. He definitely gave me a call, and Coach Dilly definitely we had a conversation about what we thought of Coach Arroyo, and I definitely told him that he was a really great guy and that he was a really great play caller and definitely a really good coach. So I think that kind of helped sway the opinion of what Dilly thought, and I feel like I helped Coach Arroyo get hired. So I don't know how that worked, but definitely I give big ups to Coach Arroyo because he also kind of gave me the knowledge to understand what it means to play in a pro-style offense. So I think that it really helps me kind of with my knowledge of the game, and it expands my knowledge of the game.
Obviously, it seems like there's that trust level between you and your OC there and your former head coach. And, when you see his imprint and his impact on the ASU offense, going through spring ball and, obviously your past familiarity, what are some of the kind of the biggest changes and maybe or influences that he's exerted so far in his time as Arizona State's offensive coordinator?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of the similar plays that we ran at UNLV that we run here. I think it's more of a balance now because between of what Coach Dillingham ran last year and what we ran at UNLV with Arroyo. So I think it's really good to see both sides of their minds, because both of those dudes are really offensive minded. guys. So seeing both of those offenses to come together, it really helps us as a team because we have that much more weapons to use during the game. So both of these coaches together is really awesome to have.
Going back to spring ball, there's a lot of shuffling on that offensive line, and spring's a time for experimentation, moving guys around and such. How did that shuffling go? I mean, at what point do you think that you might need to kind of lock in on a starting group and kind of let that chemistry gel?
Yeah, just like we were talking about earlier, we can have any dude start at any time on any Saturday, and I think that with that shuffling us around and stuff like that would really helps us because when it does go wrong, or if it does go wrong, those dudes are not afraid to take reps with the ones and step up to take that role. But I think that with shuffling dudes around, it just helps us to understand each other and how we play as a team. So definitely those lineups, people think that it's not good to only have 5 starting guys, but like if one guy was to go down, then it'd throw it off. But having that mixture, it really helps us become that much better and that much more closer together when we play on the field.
So you obviously you got the center spot locked down, and guys like Ben Coleman with his experience in the Pac-12, figured to be in that lineup well. But who are some of the maybe younger or new offensive linemen that have really kind of caught your eye and you think are primed for a big kind of breakout season in 2024?
I think first is Max Yanashore. He does a really great job. I think if you've seen him last year to this year, it's just night and day. His technique has gotten a lot better. His strength has gotten really out the roof, really. And he really has been changed his mindset this offseason in terms of becoming the dude that we want to rely on. Another young dude is probably Jalen Clem, the UW transfer, and he's done a really great job. He made an instant impact during spring ball and definitely made an instant impact on the team. He's a really vocal leader, and he really helps us out, trying to set the standard, not only in the room, but also in the team. He kind of gets us right for our energy checks and stuff like that. I think Sean also, we were talking about Sean earlier and how he's going to have a really great season. Definitely as young as he is and as early as his number got called, I think he's ready for the occasion, and he's ready to go.
You talked about CJ fight a little bit ago in terms of just his growth, and watching the spring practices, it was evident that he's really kind of leveling up a little bit. Who are some other D linemen? Obviously, the guys that you're facing off in the trenches every day in practice. Who are some of those D linemen that you think are going to explode in 2024?
I think Hefe, Jeff Clark. Jeff Clark is a really great dude. He's very explosive. He's very twitchy, which a lot of offensive linemen really don't like. They don't like the twitchy O-linemen. They just like those bigger, heavier, slower dudes, but they're kind of strong. So it's kind of just fighting power with power. But Jeff Clark is really good. I think just watching the edges, Clayton Smith, all those other dudes are going to really have a great season. Who else is over there? Prince is really good too. I think he can bend the corner just as any other edge rusher out there. But those 3 dudes really stood out to me in spring ball, and I think they're really set up for success when the season comes around.
And I just want to get your perspective. This is going to be year 2 in the Brian Ward defensive scheme, something that you're facing every day, and it seemed like there's what you mentioned, some of the trio of new linebackers as well, some interesting pieces in the secondary, the linemen that you just mentioned. Overall, how dangerous do you think this Sun Devil defense is going to be this year? I mean, they had some great moments in year 1. Obviously the UW game probably at the top of that list, but overall, how do you think they can take a step forward in year 2?
Oh, yeah. So when I was at UNLV, when me and Coach Arroyo played Coach Ward at Reno, Nevada, that defense just stumbled me so bad. And usually I'm good at seeing defenses, but I've never been so confused in ever. But I think this defense is really great. It's definitely a big changeup, and it's definitely unique compared to all the other defenses in the country. So I think that with the dudes that we have on that defense, the defensive line, the secondary, the linebackers, and the front 7, all those dudes play their part. And I think if everybody does their job on that defense would be unstoppable. Just because of the dudes that are on the team and on the defense that kind of make the defense run, it just makes Coach Ward's defense that much more better.
And then, of course, the Big 12 move is, or I get maybe the All-State 12, whatever the branding is that they're going to ultimately call it or whatnot. But new conference this year, so a lot of new teams that are going to be coming your way. What are your thoughts on just, a whole new slate of teams from what you're used to?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for the opportunity. I definitely want to see new teams and see what they're about, and definitely have a few games circled on who I want to face and stuff like that, and kind of try to prove people wrong this year. That's kind of what our goal is, to try to prove people wrong and try to make it a lot better this year than last year.
And kind of, as you look ahead to this 2024 season and, playing for the Sun Devils, what do you want most? What are the things that you really just want to get out of this season that you can?
Like, first, I just want to, I just want people to take it one game at a time. A lot of people are jumping to the conclusion of just going to the championship and stuff like that, which is all fine and great. But I think we just got to take it one game at a time. If we take it one game at a time, everything else will fall into place. So once we do that, I think we'll be just fine and have a really great season. And going to the championship will be really awesome too.
I'd like to thank Leif for taking the time to talk with me for this episode. Make sure you are subscribed to Speak of the Devils on the podcast platform of your choice for more great sit-down series episodes featuring conversations with the entire Sun Devil football coaching staff, several key players, and much more. And also be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at bdenny29.